Let's talk about something that's been quietly building some buzz around the league and now seems to be creeping into the Bears conversation. Jaylen Phillips. Yeah, that name popped up this week in a report by ESPN's insiders, and honestly, it's got people thinking. Would this be the type of swing the Bears should take if they're still hovering around .500 and feeling bold at the trade deadline? I've got some thoughts, and I know you do too, so let's dive into it. Now, first off, let's establish what we're talking about here. Jaylen Phillips is an edge rusher with serious upside. That's never been in question. Coming out of college, he had all the tools. His rookie season in the NFL? Solid. He wasn't even a full-time starter and still racked up 8.5 sacks. That's not easy to do in this league, especially for a young guy still adjusting to the speed of the pro game. Then he backed it up with another strong year. 7 sacks, still producing, still showing that explosive first step. But here's the issue, and it's a big one: injuries. In 2023, he looked like he was finally putting it all together. Through just 8 games, he had 6.5 sacks. That's a legit pace, like Pro Bowl level stuff if he stays healthy. But then, bam, another injury. And that's been the story. The potential is there, but it keeps getting interrupted. Fast forward to this season, and through 3 games, he's got no sacks, just 9 total tackles. That's not the kind of stat line that gets teams fighting over your services. And yet, when you watch the tape, the talent is still there. He's just not healthy, and he's not consistent. So now the question becomes, if the Dolphins are willing to move him, should the Bears bite? I'll be honest, I'd be cautious. Very cautious. Now, if we're talking about buying low, maybe tossing out a day 3 pick, I could entertain it. Take a flyer, see if a change of scenery does him good, maybe even throw in a 1-year extension and see what he looks like with a full offseason under the Bears staff. But it's not a no-brainer. This isn't a Khalil Mack situation. This is a talented, injury-prone player who's going to be due for a new contract soon. That's a lot of risk for a team that's still figuring out its identity. And listen, I'm all for the Bears making moves at the deadline if they're within striking distance of the playoffs. You can feel it, right? There's a different energy this season. But this team has to be smart. They can't just start throwing picks around because they're feeling good about a couple of wins. You want to add the right pieces, guys who not only fill a need, but also fit the culture and trajectory of what you're building. So, yeah, edge rusher makes sense as a position to monitor, especially if injuries hit or someone like DeMarcus Walker isn't quite producing the way you hoped. But with Jaylen Phillips, unless he suddenly flips a switch and goes on a tear in the next few weeks, I'm hesitant. But I'm curious what you think. Let me know what position the Bears should target if they do decide to be buyers at the deadline. Could be edge, could be corner, maybe even running back depending on how things go. And hey, if there are specific players you've got your eyes on, throw those names out too. Always love hearing where your heads are at with this stuff. Now, speaking of edge rushers, someone dropped Kayvon Thibodeau into the conversation, and I've seen that name mentioned a few times lately. Let's explore that for a second. The Giants, let's be real, are a team that's shifting into rebuild mode. They're going with Jackson Dart at quarterback now, and it's pretty clear the rest of their season is going to be about development, figuring out if Brian Daboll is the guy for the job long term, and seeing which young pieces are worth building around. So when you look at that roster, yeah, someone like Thibodeau becomes interesting. The thing is, he's playing pretty well right now. He's showing flashes of the guy the Giants hoped they were getting when they took him early in the draft. If he keeps trending up, they might not be so eager to move him. But if the losses keep piling up, they'll have to consider all options. Would they rather move a veteran like Brian Burns, who's pushing 30, or maybe Dexter Lawrence, whose value might never be higher than it is right now? These are the kinds of questions rebuilding teams have to ask. And for the Bears, the idea of bringing in someone like Thibodeau, a young edge rusher with upside and team control, is way more appealing than rolling the dice on an injured Jaylen Phillips. I mean, the Giants could easily ask for a first-rounder, and honestly, I wouldn't give that up. But a second or third, especially if the Bears are feeling good about their core, that could be worth revisiting in a few weeks. Same goes for the running back position. Someone brought up Breece Hall, and I'll admit, that got my attention. If the run game continues to underwhelm, that's a position the front office might circle. Because right now, let's call it what it is, this group has not produced. Through 3 weeks, the backs are averaging 3.4 yards per carry. That's just not good enough, especially when your offensive line hasn't been terrible. The pass protection has actually been solid in stretches, but the run blocking hasn't clicked the way you'd hope. And the backs? They're not exactly doing more than what's blocked. Now, Ben Johnson said earlier this week that he feels like the run game is close to breaking out. And maybe it is. Maybe we see it against the Raiders. Maybe Swift or Madungi finally put together a big performance and quiet some of the concern. But if that doesn't happen, if we're still seeing 30 carries for 90 yards and a whole lot of second and long situations, then yeah, you've got to consider adding someone. And Breece Hall, if he were to be available, would be a name to watch. He's explosive, he can catch out of the backfield, and he'd add a different dynamic to this offense. Is it likely the Jets move him? Probably not. But stranger things have happened, especially if a team is dangling future picks. Now, let's be clear. I'm not out here saying the Bears need to blow everything up or start panic buying. But if they're in the hunt, you've got to explore every option. Because this league doesn't wait. Windows open and close fast. You've got to be aggressive when the opportunity is there, but smart enough to know when it's just noise. And speaking of matchups, let's shift to this weekend. A lot of fans are nervous about the possibility of the Raiders' rookie back breaking out against this Bears defensive line. And honestly, it's a fair concern. Jenny hasn't done much this season. In fact, he's sitting at negative 53 rushing yards over expected, which is just brutal. But the Bears' run defense hasn't exactly been dominant either. Guys like Jervin Dexter are flashing in the pass rush, but against the run, it's been shaky. And that's where a guy like Jenny could get going. The Raiders' O-line isn't special, especially inside. But if the Bears don't control the trenches, this could be one of those games where a struggling player suddenly looks like a star. Same goes for the matchup with Trey Tucker. That dude is fast, like real fast. And he's the kind of guy that can burn you deep if you're not careful. Kevin Byard, for all his leadership and experience, hasn't looked quite like himself this year. At 33, you start to wonder if the decline is setting in. And this would have been a perfect game to have Kyler Gordon back. A healthy Gordon would have helped take some pressure off the safeties and allowed more flexibility against both Tucker and even a guy like Brock Bowers. But if he's not out there, that puts a lot more stress on the secondary. You got to play with discipline. You got to keep everything in front, because Tucker only needs 1 or 2 shots to flip the game. We've also seen some talk about Tony Pollard. That's another interesting idea, but I kind of feel like him and Swift are too similar. Both are finesse runners. Both are better in space than they are grinding between the tackles. They're great for outside zone, screen game, that kind of stuff. But if you're looking for a between-the-tackles grinder who can get you the hard yards and we're down a defense, I'm not sure either guy fits that mold. So if you bring in Pollard, you're really just doubling down on the same style of back. Not a terrible idea, but maybe not what the Bears truly need. Let's keep going because there's still a lot to unpack heading into this game against the Raiders, and we haven't even talked about the guy who could completely blow it up, Max Crosby. This is the one matchup that makes me nervous. If there's one player on the Raiders roster who can single-handedly ruin a game plan, it's this guy. You got to give him that respect. He's relentless, physical, and plays with that nonstop motor that coaches love, but offensive coordinators hate. The Bears have to figure out a way to neutralize him, or at least survive him, because if they don't, it could get ugly real quick. The tackle situation in Chicago right now is, let's call it what it is, shaky. Darnell Wright might play, but he's not going to be at 100%. And if he doesn't suit up, you're looking at guys like Theo Benedict or Aussie Trapillo stepping in. That's not ideal when you're going up against a guy like Crosby, who thrives on exposing inexperience and poor technique. Now, Braxton Jones did play better last week, but rewind the tape to that game against Aiden Hutchinson a couple weeks back, and you'll remember how rough that outing was. Crosby is in that same tier, maybe even higher. So what do? You chip him. You double team. You bring in your tight ends to help out. And that's where someone like Durham Smythe comes into play. This guy's been blocking like a madman this year. Expect to see him line up in pass protection a lot. Same with the running backs. It's going to be a group effort, no question about it. And it's not just about protecting the quarterback. You have to keep Max Crosby from flipping the momentum of the game. It's those strip sacks, those drive-killing plays that he thrives on. You can live with him getting a sack here and there. That's going to happen. He's that good. But what you can't do is let him wreck your entire offensive rhythm. One bad fumble, one pick because of pressure, and suddenly you're playing from behind. And against a team like the Raiders, who don't beat themselves often, that's a dangerous place to be. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise people: the advantage in the passing game. I actually really like how the Bears receivers match up against the Raiders secondary. They don't have that elite cover guy. They've got some solid pieces, and Jeremy Chin is a quality safety, but he's more of a box safety, not really that rangy center field type who can shut down the deep ball. That means someone like DJ Moore could be in for a big game. If the Raiders decide to throw safety help over the top to try to slow down Rome Odunze, then Moore should be seeing a lot of single coverage. And when that happens, good things usually follow. Cole Cam ET, too. Don't sleep on him in this one. With the Raiders linebackers being what they are, and without a true free safety patrolling the middle, this could be one of those games where he quietly racks up 6 or 7 catches and moves the chains in key spots. And look, if the offensive line can hold up, and that's obviously the big if, then the Bears should be able to find some real success through the air. The passing attack has looked sharp over the last few games. Timing is better, routes are crisper, and the chemistry is starting to build. That's something to build on, especially in a game like this where the opponent is beatable if you play clean. Now, shifting gears just a bit, someone threw out CJ Gardner-Johnson's name in the mailbag. I want to touch on that. I get the idea. Injuries have hit the secondary hard. There's been some rough stretches from guys like Sean Wright. So, the idea of bringing in a guy like Gardner-Johnson makes sense on the surface. But dig a little deeper, and you start to see the red flags. This guy has a history. He's caused issues in pretty much every locker room he's been in. He was a key piece on that Eagles defense that went to the Super Bowl, and they still let him walk. Then he ends up with the Texans, and they cut him after just a few games. That says a lot. Not about his talent. The guy can play, but about how teams view his impact on chemistry and culture. And with where the Bears are right now, building something, trying to get this young group to buy into a system and grow together, I just don't know if you want to bring in a guy with that kind of baggage. It's not like he's a game changer anymore. He's good, not great. And unless you're desperate, unless you've run out of internal options, it feels like a move that could do more harm than good. You're not just adding a player. You're adding a personality. And with this locker room still stabilizing, that's a big risk. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could be the most shocking shakeup of the NFL offseason, whispers around the league are hinting that Tyreek Hill, the electric wide receiver known for his breakneck speed and game-changing plays, might be on the verge of joining the Chicago Bears. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders suggest that this move could easily go down as the biggest signing in the franchise's long and storied history. Bears fans, accustomed to waiting decades for headlines of this magnitude, have been buzzing with excitement at the mere thought. Hill's arrival in Chicago would not just add talent. It would redefine the team's offensive identity. Known as Cheetah for his astonishing agility and ability to turn any catch into a highlight reel touchdown, Hill has proven time and again that he can change the course of a game in a matter of seconds. And if the rumors hold true, Bears quarterback play might finally have a receiver capable of stretching defenses to their breaking point. Sources close to the organization suggest that discussions have been intense, with the Bears reportedly willing to go all in to lure Hill to Soldier Field. While contracts in these ranges are rarely disclosed until finalized, speculation is already running wild about the magnitude of the deal. Some analysts are even suggesting that this could eclipse any previous signing in Chicago's history, placing the Bears squarely in the headlines as a franchise willing to make audacious moves. The timing could not be more intriguing. With the NFC North shaping up to be brutally competitive, adding a player of Hill's caliber could tilt the balance in favor of the Bears. Fans are imagining long passes down the sideline, quick slants that turn to 70-yard touchdowns, and an offense that finally keeps defenses guessing. The social media frenzy alone, fueled by highlight reels and mock jerseys, is evidence that the rumor has already captured the imagination of the fan base. While Hill himself has not commented, insiders note that multiple sources have confirmed that discussions are ongoing and that the Bears are pushing hard to make this dream signing a reality. If it happens, it wouldn't just be a big splash. It could be a defining moment in the franchise's modern era, cementing the 2025 offseason as one to remember for decades. For now, all Chicago can do is watch, wait, and hope that the rumors become reality. Because if Tyreek Hill does indeed make his way to the Windy City, Bears football might never be the same again. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.